Hello beautiful people, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you guys are new here, my name is Gianna Lian, and today I'm giving you guys all of my 5-star reads. Now, I have a lot of 5-star reads because I have a lot of favorite books, so I thought today would be a good video to share with you guys all of my all-time favorite books. I have a lot to get through, but I can promise you that all of them are life-changing books that you need to pick up. The first one I'm going to start with is Better Than the Movies by Lian Painter. I love Lian Painter. I love all of her books. I want to get through her backlist eventually, but this one is really special to me. It's like a YA cringy rom-com, and Lian Painter's writing is just literally amazing. If you guys have watched my other videos, you guys know how much I hype her up, but this one specifically was just so cute, and I had the best time reading it, and I think that's mainly why I just loved it so much, and this book has still stuck with me for so long because of the amazing time I had reading it. Not only that, but Lian Painter's characters, they do something to me, I'm telling you. Wes Bennett, he has my heart. He has my complete heart. Next one is really hyped up, but it's hyped up for a reason. The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This one I was not expecting to love at all. It's weird because after I picked this up, I was like, oh, I'm not really gonna like this. I don't know why I bought it. I did not regret it a single bit. I absolutely loved the dynamics in this book. It's like historical fiction, and I thought I could never get into that, but I thought the whole layout and the whole idea of the book was just so cool. Not only that, but the drama in this book, it blows up at times. But yeah, I was not expecting to love this one, but I ended up loving it. This one's basically just about Evelyn Hugo's life and how her life became so scandalous. But when she decides to pick an author to basically write her whole life in an article, stuff goes down and we get to figure out a lot about Evelyn's life that she wanted to share, which is gonna shock a lot of people. It shocked me. And it was like one of the first 5 stars that I gave out when I started my reading journey again. Next, we're gonna talk about a not that known book, but it's Monday's Not Coming by Tiffany D. Jackson. And this surprisingly is classified as YA. I don't know why. It is not a light book at all, so make sure you check trigger warnings on this book because it talks about a lot of serious things about like child abuse, child neglect. It's just a lot darker than I thought it was gonna be, but it's basically about a girl's best friend that goes missing, and no one seems to care that this little girl is missing, and no one's really trying to figure out where she went. But the best friend goes on like this huge mission trying to figure out what happened and why no one is caring, and she ends up discovering a lot of very dark secrets that are just very insane. It was so crazy, had me on the edge of my seat. I fell in love with the author's writing. It was just chef's kiss perfection, and I devoured it. I'm pretty sure I read this book in less than 2 days because I could not put it down. So obviously this one has to get a 5 stars. And I read that one a really long time ago, and I still stand by my rating for it. The next one's kind of weird and not a 5-star that a lot of people would think that I would give, but it's Milk and Honey by Rupi Kaur. I don't know if I gave this a 5-star because it was the first poetry book that I really ever read, or if I just really loved it that much. But this is a poetry book. It's super short, but everything in this book is so powerful, and every single poem just hit me in a way that I absolutely fell in love with it. Not only that, but I loved the drawings and how the book is laid out. There are all these fine line drawings. It was so perfect, especially this one. I am definitely looking to pick up more poetry books, so if you guys have any poetry recommendations, leave them down below because I would love to pick up more, especially because of how much I love this one. But overall, I think I gave this a 5-star because I know I'm gonna reread it and go back to various poems that I liked. And I feel like that's also perfect for this book considering it's always a book that you can go back to. And then we have Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. And just a second for the cover. It's so gorgeous. So gorgeous. This one I also fell in love with. I hear that it's so similar to Love in Other Words, but this one specifically, I am obsessed with Sam. He is also one of my favorite book boyfriends of all time, and I just fell in love with the summer aesthetic of this book. I read it right during summer, and it was beyond perfect. It gave me all the perfect vibes, and there were so many symbols in this book that just all connected the book perfectly. Oh, it was everything. Basically, to describe this book perfectly is it's a summer romance with all the summer vibes, lots of tension. We got friends to lovers, second chance romance. It's just everything. You guys definitely have to pick up this book when summertime comes. I'm telling you right now. This one's on the darker side, but it's Winter Girls by Laurie Halse Anderson. This one's not very known, but this author is. She wrote Speak, I'm pretty sure, and I knew I was gonna love this book. And I did, because this book was extremely relatable. The writing was so touching, and I think the author just really explained the topics in this book and executed them perfectly. I honestly wouldn't change a thing about this book. It was just so perfect. But it does deal with eating disorders, treatment, depression, like everything like that, so make sure you check trigger warnings, as always. But yeah, there was just something so touching about this book that made me fall in love with it. Not only that, but the timelines, the whole setup of it was just thought out so perfectly, and it made everything just work seamlessly, and I really, really enjoyed this, and I definitely will be picking up more books by her in the future. Another one sort of in that category is Paperweight by Meg Haston, and this one also deals with eating disorders, depression, treatment facilities, and stuff like that. But this was actually the first book that I ever picked up going back into my reading journey, so this book just will always hold such a significant part of me. I don't know. I flew through this. It was so touching, like the last one, but I definitely want to do a reread of this soon to see if I love it as much as I did back then, because I've read so many different books now, so I'm curious to see if I would love it as much as I did the first time. But this cover is kind of cool, and it also says she's got nothing left to lose. It was just so touching. Another summery 5-star read is The Summer I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han. Now it's funny because this is a trilogy, and I only rated this book a 5 stars because it was my favorite one out of the bunch. I'm pretty sure I read this in a day. I know it's short, but I just didn't want to put it down. It was so cute and such an easy read that it was just a good feel time book, especially because I read it in the summer. Obviously I had to. There was just something about this that had me hooked to it, and it almost felt nostalgic in a way. It reminded me kind of like my childhood a little bit, so it was just super cute, super fun, and I just had to give it a 5 stars because of how funny it was and how I was literally laughing the whole time. Another feel-good read, which it's also probably my 3rd or 4th favorite book I've ever read, Mary Jane by Jessica Anya Blau. I've talked about this a little bit on my channel, but not enough. This book is so cute. It's more just general fiction and character driven. It's not so much plot based, but it still definitely has a plot. It's just more focused on you falling in love with the characters, which I promise you will. But it's based in the 1970s and basically just a girl coming of age, and it just has so much found family, and it just has everything I absolutely love. Honestly, I was kind of hesitant picking this book up with the description. I didn't know if it was going to be for me, but I'm so happy that I ended up reading it and going into it more blind and not doing that much research on it, because I did not regret it, and I had such a wonderful time. This book will always just hold such a special place in my heart because it gave me feelings of like warmth and so much happiness when I was reading it. I definitely will be doing a reread on this because I do want to annotate it. And obviously you guys know I have to include this one considering it is my favorite book I've read of all time. I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. I obviously won't explain in depth too much about this book considering I talk about it a lot on my channel, but this book is still my favorite book of all time. I am in love with Jeanette's story. It was so raw and moving, and everything about her writing was just perfect. She did not hold back at all, and I think that's what made this book so perfect, was how honest she was and how vulnerable she was in this book. It really made me see a different side of Jeanette that I never would have expected from what I knew of her before. So it was super, super cool to get to know an actress that I absolutely adored when I was younger and really know her actual true story. This book just hit me in a way that I can't explain, and it always will be so special to me considering I think about this book every single day. Every single day. Okay, let's just get this series out of the way because it's my favorite series of all time. The Addicted series. I have actually only read 2 of the books. The 3rd one I pre-ordered, guys. don't worry, I will be reading it right when it comes to my house. But this series has me addicted. Literally what it says. This series will get you addicted. I am not lying. I honestly saw so much hype around it that I was nervous to read them, because whenever I read a book that's really, really hyped up, I have expectations through the roof for the books. But this one, oh my gosh, I have never been more obsessed with a book couple in my life. Lily and Lo, they have my heart. I'm obsessed with them. Oh, I don't know what it is. Something about this series just... But not only that, Krista and Becca Ritchie's writing is insane, and I just enjoy it so much. It's not easy to read, but it's so enjoyable to read. I don't really know what I'm trying to say, but if you get it, you get it. Also, I do have Bad Reputation, also by Krista and Becca Ritchie, that I have to read. I got this one before I got the Addicted books, and now it's made me so much more excited to pick up this one because of how much I'm absolutely in love with these authors. So these are obviously my favorite series of all time. Highly, highly recommend you guys to pick these up. And I will also be reading the Calloway Sister series because I feel like I just have to. The next one, it's another series. I read it on Kindle Unlimited, so I don't have the books with me, but it is the Mindfuck series. I read this in the summertime. I'm still not absolutely completely finished the series, but the second and third book, those are 5-star reads for me. The first one was almost a 5-star read, but the second and third one really get into it. It's just a whole crazy concept of a book. It's a darker romance, but it is very action-packed and kind of a little gory, considering you do have a serial killer romance, but the heroines are reversed. It's insane, and it's definitely the craziest plot line of a book that I've ever read. So I highly recommend, if you want something that is crazy, will blow your mind, have you on the edge of your seat, and you're just not gonna want to put this series down, and it's gonna have you hooked till the very, very end. So I definitely recommend this series. Speaking of thrillers and more on the crazy dark side, we have Behind Closed Doors by B.A. Paris. This was a recent read for me. I'm pretty sure I gave this a 4.75 at the time, but the more I think about it, this deserves a 5 stars. Yes, it was a little bit slow at the beginning, but it just built up the angst to see what is gonna happen, and let me tell you, I could not put this book down. I was like, I need to know what's going on. I need to know how this book is gonna end. It was just insane, but it does deal with a lot of very dark topics because it is a domestic abuse situation going on, and it definitely had me feeling very uneasy and just so uncomfortable reading some parts because I never thought that a man could treat someone he's supposed to love like that. It was just so offside, but let me tell you, it had me on a whole roller coaster of emotions. So definitely you need to pick up this book. It's so fast paced, besides the first like 30 pages. But once you get past that, I'm just not gonna say anything. You just have to wait and see. I have so many 5-star reads. Another one that I absolutely have to talk about is Finlay Donovan is Killing It by El Cosimano. You guys know how I love this one as well. I talk about all my favorite books so much, but I really want to read the second and third book in this series. I have to find where I can pick it up without ordering it. But this one was also just such a feel-good, cozy mystery read. It was so fun and had me laughing so much. This is also one that's plot-driven, but also very character-driven as well, so you get the best of both worlds in this book. Not only that, but even though it was more of a cozy mystery, it had me on the edge of my seat for so long, and it left on the biggest cliffhanger ever, and I honestly don't know what I'm gonna do. I just need to know what happens to Finlay, and it was just crazy. Another 5-star read I have is What I Lost by Alexandra Ballard. This one also hit very close from home. It is very dark in the way of mental health, so make sure you check trigger warnings. And I love this cover. It is so cool. It's definitely something very different, but it's very symbolic to the actual story, which is awesome. It does deal with the same things as the other ones that I mentioned, but it spreads very, very good awareness, and it's not as dark as Winter Girls, but it still deals with the same topics, and I think that the author did an amazing job covering those topics without being too specific, but also without leaving too much information out. So this is like the perfect in-between of the topics that it is talked about. Yeah, I really, really recommend this one. one. And then the last one that I have, I don't have the actual physical book, sadly, but it's Tell Me Lies by Carola Levering. I am still obsessed with this book. I've taken lots of time to really think about my rating for this because of how up and down the book was, but it officially does get a 5 stars. I still think about this book almost every single day, but it is a toxic romance, and let me tell you, it is probably one of the most toxic books that I've ever read in my life. It had me on an emotional roller coaster. I don't even know how the characters were feeling, but it literally felt like I was in the book feeling everything that the characters were feeling, and that is the best feeling in a book that I can get. Obviously, I did hate a few of the characters, but overall, the rest of the character development and everything was just perfection, and it wasn't boring. Because it was a toxic romance, it just kept going and going and going and going, and it gave me that like thrilling feeling, almost like adrenaline. It was weird, but that book just did something to me, and now I'm obsessed with toxic romances. It's made me pick up so many more. But that's not a bad thing. But I can't even fit the whole stack in here, but these are the books that I gave 5 stars. Obviously, there are a few others that I don't have right now that I also gave 5 stars, but these are like my all-time favorites. If I had to choose a bunch of them, these would be my top ones that I would choose. But obviously, there are so many more books to read, considering my bookshelf. I have a lot to still read, but these are my favorites for now, and I really hope you guys maybe are interested now in picking up some of my favorites. I would love to hear your thoughts if you have read any of them or you want to read any of them and share your thoughts after. That would be so amazing. But I think that is all I have for you guys today. I really hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you guys did, please make sure you like, comment, subscribe, all that YouTube stuff you guys know how to do. And with that, I hope you guys are having an amazing, wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. Bye! You know the drill. What is on my arm? By Carola, or sorry, is that his name? So, I definitely will be